Halahulu, Makikai, no Levi. It's Breakfast with Bob and Amanda.
And Poncho Man, bringing it like only he can. Presented by ES Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex Roca, Tanya Porter Resort, Rudy Project, and Slow Twitch. Dr. Amanda Stevens, operating here at Breakfast with Bob. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's
So
wonderful to be back again.
Love it. How old were you when you started swimming? You must have been a tadpole.
I started actually swimming when I was about 6 months old, but I did my first race when I was 3.
3?
So, forever.
in Oklahoma?
Yes.
In Oklahoma. So grew up as a swimmer, and were you thinking about going to any Oklahoma schools, or you would go to TCU?
Unfortunately, no schools in Oklahoma had a swim program.
Really?
So I very much grew up in a smaller town in Oklahoma, absolutely loved my family and my parents, and was a homebody, and I was so scared to
go to Texas?
venture outside of Oklahoma and yes, down to Texas. But found a wonderful school at Texas Christian University, and my brother, who's actually 4 years older than me, he had finished his swimming career at KU and came on as the assistant coach at TCU. So I kind of lucked out with having big brother around to keep an eye on me.
I love it.
And then it was great. I graduated, and my younger sister, exactly 4 years younger, she just followed in my footsteps and
I'm right there too.
went and swam at TCU also.
And was the medical path was always something that
Yes, yeah, that's about 9th grade was the first time that happened. I dissected a frog in science class.
I was going to say, I knew it had something to do with dissecting.
Awesome.
This is the best. I like to take stuff apart.
Yes,
this is great.
yes. And then kind of also just kind of always wanting to be able to help people and promote health and wellness. Just kind of all fit in perfectly to follow.
So you follow that path, become a doctor, and when did try come into your life?
Actually, during medical school.
Yeah.
Kind of the best time to pick up
Sure.
two new sports. I didn't
That
have
take a
anything
lot
else
of
on my plate.
time. Yeah.
The way our medical school was, we had a gym and there's a pool, and the second story was just glass windows, and there's a couple local triathletes, and they would just look down and watch me swim, and they were like, "You need to do a triathlon," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't own a bike, I don't really like to run, and just leave me alone. I'm done with swimming, I'm done with sports, I'm kind of here to be a serious professional and a doctor," and they were pounded me all year long. So I went and did a super sprint in Bixby, Oklahoma, and absolutely loved
every second of it.
Loved every second of it, and was hooked. And
coming from that swimming background, and you're a 2-time Olympic trials qualifier, so obviously the Olympic side of things, and you were an athlete. You wanted to stay an athlete.
Yes.
And this gives you an opportunity to stay an athlete and be competitive.
Definitely.
Right? Because you get to a certain point in swimming where if I'm not going to the Olympics, it's not like there's a national swimming league.
Right.
That I'm going to, so you really don't have that much of an option. When did you feel that, okay, I can really be good at this tri thing and continue being an athlete?
Well, I think that was part of my reluctance that first year. Not only had I taken on a big commitment with medical school, but as I had kind of hung up the cap and goggles and put that away, and then that was around that time was the first year triathlon was in the Olympics, and I was like, we could transfer, Olympic dream from swimming into triathlon.
Absolutely.
So that was good. And I think it was 3 months in, I went to age group nationals, and I won age group nationals. And
3 months later.
3 months later. And the Olympic Training Center called, asked me to come and train, and I wasn't quite convinced, so I kind of turned them down. And, I was like, I'm in medical school, I kind of got to be serious, and and of course my parents were very supportive of medical school. They're supportive of triathlon now.
But back then we say, hey, I got an idea. I want to throw this education and all these dollars that we've spent, and I'm going to go back and swim, bike, and run at a sport that who knows if I'll make a penny at.
So, and then the next year I went to Age Group Worlds.
Yes.
And I won Age Group Worlds with my parents there, and I think that's when they saw the light go on, and they're like, all right, let's follow this path too.
How obviously you adapted to the bike and run part pretty easily, from coming with the anaerobic and aerobic motor that you had from swimming.
Yes.
What was the toughest part?
I think the toughest part, I'm not sure.
You didn't have a tough part.
Well, I say back then, and that's what I was going to say when I got into the sport too, kind of knowing I had some talent and kind of seeing where I could go. I contacted Mike Pigg. He became my first coach.
Oh, wow.
And I think he was able to transfer my huge aerobic engine very nicely into the sport at the beginning. And ironically enough, it took me a very long time, but I've kind of come full circle because this year I'm working with Phil Maffetone.
Who was working with Mike
him.
Pigg.
So, yes, kind of a circuitous route I took to get where I am today, but now bringing bringing my old school aerobic engine back to Kona today.
So if you have success right after the 2001 or so, were you thinking Athens?
Yes, I raced ITU. I raced ITU until 2009.
Okay.
And really, if you would have asked me up until 2009, Ironman was
Never.
not on my radar. Those people were crazy. I watched my husband race Ironman Louisville, and now I realize kind of how mean it was after the race. But, I'm sitting there watching it, especially coming from ITU, and I got done. I'm like, for as much pain as you guys in, you sure are moving slow.
That's a T-shirt.
And I was like,
that.
I will never do this. And
Yeah.
here I am. I think we were counting up. This is Ironman 17, 15.
17.
Number 5 in Kona, and never
Wow.
say never, right?
Wow. I mean, how tough was that transition going from, okay, I am a sprinter, I'm doing something that takes a little over 2 hours, and I'm not going to be doing this long stuff. Did you transition to 70.3
Yes,
first?
I
Okay.
did. I transitioned
And you've won
70.3
countless of those.
Yeah, did well. I haven't raced 70.3 Worlds in a while, so
Yes.
I raced in Clearwater and just kind of kept moving
Right.
up. 4th place was my best
Yes.
finish there the last year we had them, and then then I did my first Ironman in Cozumel, 3-4 weeks after that race.
Okay, and how did that go?
It went well. Had a few issues, as to be expected with your first one, but really enjoyed it.
You liked it?
I
As
crossed
much
the
as you
finish
can,
again.
yeah.
I crossed the finish line, and I
Never.
caught Andy Potts, and I was like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. And he said, give it 2 days, and then he's like, you'll think of everything you can do better, and you'll be hooked and want to do it. And I don't even think it took 2 days. It was before you knew it. It's just I could do this, I could do that,
Boom.
Yeah.
And now, at the same time, are you still following becoming a doctor, or you put that on hold?
I received my medical degree in 2006, so I was kind of in and out. I took a 2-year sabbatical to go to Olympic trials, and then went back and finished up, went to Olympic trials again. And then now I do some advising. I'm on a couple advisory boards, some counseling. And then I've got 12 athletes that I coach,
Right.
but I also help them kind of on the health and wellness.
I was going to say, so
side
the
also.
medical side of it, you use that in your coaching and probably in your training as well.
Yes, for sure. And I think that's working with Phil this year. I've just really learned that there's a difference between health and fitness. And
Huge.
I think so many times as athletes, we come in and we're so fit, and you just assume that means you're healthy. And I mean, even last year I would have come here and I wasn't injured on the outside.
Right.
I wasn't sneezing and having a cold, so I was like, I'm healthy, but
You weren't?
I was not healthy.
Why? What was going on?
I've had several GI issues over
Okay.
the years, and just inflammatory response. Parts of my left side of the body shut down,
Yeah.
and kind of maneuvered through that. And, just little things always going wrong, and not always being able to perform at the level I should have. And so that was the number one goal this year, was to
Get
lay
healthy,
a foundation of health and get healthy. And once I did that, it was amazing. The fitness just came and came and came, and it's just been on an upward trajectory. So
And what did Phil bring to the table on that? Because he certainly knows nutrition. He certainly knows every aspect of training people.
Nutrition, and I'd probably say the biggest thing was, looking at the whole picture and getting a balance. I think too, a lot of times, especially as professional athletes, we come in here and while it's our job, it gets ingrained into our life, and
Sure.
so it's a 24-hour thing, and that's a lot to do. So a lot more balanced in my life now.
Right.
Just kind of everything's there, and then nutrition was a big part. And also, if you're familiar with Phil a lot, it's go slow to get fast. So
I was going to say, that's
we
his
slowed
philosophy.
me down, and I've done a lot of walking this year, but walking. So I don't know if you heard that. So yes,
walking
but I think
for training.
walking for training. And
Yes.
At first I was like,
Gotta be
I gotta
kidding.
go walk. And now, I enjoy my walks. And it was just last night,
Yeah.
Randy was going to run get the car for something. I was like, no, let's walk it. It feels good. And once you kind of get into a healthy state
Yes.
and reach that, walking is actually, it kind of helps your body reset. And
So wait a second. We got a professional athlete when you were swimming, what was your distance?
I was a breaststroker. And
For
then
what? What
100,
distance?
200
So
meters.
100, 200. So
Yeah.
basically you're talking seconds.
Yes.
Something that takes seconds. and somebody's telling you, hey, I got an idea. Why don't you go for a 5-mile walk? I mean, it's like, why don't you just stick a dagger in my eyeball? Well, that had to be the first time you did that. Did you go, oh my, this is the silliest thing I've ever heard?
Yes. Well, before I even started talking with Phil, someone had kind of mentioned his name, and
You did a little research?
I did a little research. I was like, this guy he's crazy. What is he talking about? He doesn't know anything. I called him a crazy kook.
Yes.
He knows that, so it's okay if you're listening, Phil.
Yes.
But, you know, I think once I wrapped my head around it, and
Yeah.
it really, like, it's amazing how much sense, like, his kind of program makes for me and where I was in my career.
And this year, what have your results now that you're on Phil's program?
We've kept it pretty low key.
Yes.
And so, it was I wanted to race here, so obviously kind of getting.
This is the goal. So everything else was preparation for
right.
this.
And so I did Ironman Brazil.
Third.
Where I was third, and that was it was fun. We tested some things out, and I mean, if you know my history, usually I'm out of the water first,
yes.
just racing off the front. I actually dropped back to 5th or 6th on the bike, and I ran myself into the lead. Like, I don't think I've ever passed anyone on a run before.
Wow.
And laid down my fastest marathon by far. I think I ran like a 3:04, 3:05.
Oh my God.
There. So that was just exciting to be
yes.
out in front. And then I did, like, the 2 girls that beat me, they both passed me within the last couple miles, so huge lessons learned.
Yes.
There, and then we weren't sure what was going to happen with the points, so we decided to go race Ironman Coeur d'Alene.
Second.
And I got second there.
How cool is that? Did you run well again?
Not quite as well, but again, and then it was one of those things, you know, as Kona points roll in, it's like, I didn't have to go to Coeur d'Alene, and I wasn't recovering quite as well as we wanted, so it was, you know, kind of floating in the back of my head. Did I have to do that? But then again, just this year has been so much learning, like huge learning curve. And like, had I not raced there's some things I wouldn't have been able to bring to the table here in Kona.
Yes.
So while, you know, wouldn't call that an ideal race, it was more than ideal from
block.
the learning
yes.
perspective. Yes.
So you finished 11th here in 2003,
yes.
2013, and you've had the fastest swim here 3 times. So, but it also sounds like you're in a position, even though you've been here numerous times, that you're probably in a better position mentally and physically than you've been.
Right. Yes, that's what I think. A fit Amanda races decent, but a happy, healthy, fit Amanda is going to race like a rock star.
Exactly. Exactly. So are you feeling that way, that this could be a really, really good year?
Yes. Yeah. And it is. I think that's something Phil's taught me too, is just, you know, go in with an open mind and
yes.
trust, believe, have faith, and just fly on the day and see what happens. I really I can't control what those other girls have done leading up, what they're going to do on race day. And so, you know, if I just put my best race day together, then at the end of the day, wherever that lands me, you know, I'll be a happy girl.
You know, what's interesting about that is when all of a sudden something that you looked at as a weakness becomes a strength, when you start running low 3 hours and, you know, potentially, and you're running low 3 hours in Brazil. It's not like we're talking 50 degrees out. It's hotter than crap.
It's hot.
That bodes well for a race like this.
Yes.
And you think about it, Miranda runs runs 250, and everybody else is running, the other top gals are running 306, 307. So you're right in the mix.
That's the plan's to be in the mix, and we'll see.
I love that.
And that 305 was way back in May. We're in what, October?
Oh, you're so much faster now. You've done a lot more fast walks. Is he trying to convert you into a race walker? Is that the next thing? You're going to be wiggling your way?
That's a good idea.
See? I love that. Is there a point where you're, like now you're a triathlete and a little bit of medical? Is there a point where the medical becomes full-time?
Definitely, for sure. And that's something I think when I first went to Phil at the beginning of this year, you know, I'd already put a timeline on it.
Yes.
Like, I've got this long left, and we've got all this we've got to accomplish. And again, just with him relieving the stress and finding that balance.
Yes.
And he was like, don't put a timeline on it. All that does is added pressure. So kind of don't have a definite time. But at some point, yes. I mean, I love the medical field and helping people, and kind of what I envision doing there with health and wellness. Like, it'll be bigger than my triathlon career can or ever will be. You know, but there'll be the right time and place when that comes.
Love
and
it.
Also, Randy and I are planning on having some kiddos and a family in there too.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Love that. Doc, thank you so
yes,
much.
Thank you for having me.
Always wonderful to catch up. Go operate on those women on Saturday. Take them out.
Yeah.
Love that. Again, this is Breakfast with Bob. We're presented by ES Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, Roca, Tanyapura Resort, Rudy Project, Slow Twitch, and Pancho. Man.
Market kai, no Levi, a birth with Bob. Oh yeah,
Pancho Man.